Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Certified Forgotten. I feel like if we don't do a guest episode soon, I can't do my introduction spiel, but I'm going to do it one more time, which is we are still your podcast, talks about films with 10 or fewer reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. For the last little bit, travel, work stuff, obligations, you've gotten a lot of just Matt Donato and myself talking about new releases as part of our Uncertified series. But you know what? A, you get what you get and you don't get upset. And B, I like talking to Matt Donato about new releases. I'm having a good time. So I hope you are too.
I was going to say too, we had a guest episode 2 episodes ago. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, that's true. I wasn't here. Well, I didn't get to do the intro. So it was, was it BJ that was doing the me impression? Yes, it was. Right. And
yeah, but I introed. I'm not you. I don't have the intro guy in me. I'm the color commentator. So I had to step up, and I don't know if I did it quite as well as you would have. So I'll give you that credit, but I did my best.
Yeah, I was in studio with my friends at the Cult Pop podcast last night, and the person that runs the podcast studio afterwards came up to me and he was like, you say a lot of really smart shit. Like I should listen to Certified Forgotten. I'm going to check it out. I was like, I'm gonna tell you right now that I think Certified Forgotten is a really good podcast because and I hope this doesn't sound arrogant, I'm smart. And Donato is a gremlin, and that like smart gremlin combination is the winning formula for any media podcasts out there. And somehow, even though I just spent an hour talking about Obsession last night, it's probably an indicator of how much I enjoyed this film that I was like, we're going to talk about Obsession on this podcast too. So if you are one of the folks that hasn't seen it, I recommend you listen to none of this episode. It'll be in your feed. When you're done, you need to experience this film. It's hard to talk about it without getting into spoiler territories, not because there are a lot of big spoilers, but just because we want to get into the weeds on some of this stuff, and we don't want you to lose the ability to go in fresh for any of these scenes. That said, if you're sticking around and you don't care, here's a quick plot synopsis to set the stage. After years of friendship, Bear would do anything to earn a shot with Nikki. But after being kept at arm's length one too many times, Bear, in exasperation, jokingly wishes that Nikki would love him more than anyone in the world. But there's a problem. Some wishes really do come true. And Bear soon learns that he would do almost anything to maintain Nikki's newfound interest in him. Written and directed by TikTok and YouTube creator Curry Barker, Obsession is one movie you won't want to friend zone. Oh yeah, there's your tagline. Take it and run with it, Focus Features. Matt Donato, you have been talking this film up. I talked about this last night. You've been talking about this film so much and in such good terms since you saw it last year at the festival.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did a post Fantastic Fest episode.
Yep.
So I definitely would have hyped it up there. I know we have talked other times about it here on the podcast. I've talked about it on live streams. I've talked about it in person with many people because, yeah, Obsession's great. And I mean, it speaks to the fact that Curry Barker had his quote unquote, feature debut, but let's call it the theatrical debut because Milk and Cereal is right there.
Well, question for you real quick. Milk and Cereal, do you consider that a feature film? It is not a long feature film, but
I mean, to me, that's a feature film. To me, that was his coming out. That was his. So like, I didn't call it his feature debut because that Milk and Cereal to me is his feature debut that he distributed himself on YouTube, which fuck yeah, just because it went there doesn't diminish it and all that other stuff. So yeah, the movie is a character study. It is so dependent on the performance. It is indie horror through and through, but it makes so much sense that it was sold for 15 million. At the gate. I mean, this was a pop of originality, a burst of freshness in a topic I would say that has been beaten to death because this is very much of the quote unquote trauma horror ilk. This is about a relationship that goes awry. This is about everything about the horrors of dating in modern culture and the male loneliness epidemic, all that stuff, like all rolled into one. It hit at the perfect time. It is so timely. And obviously it's influenced by actual events in reality. So to get all that going and to get all that from Curry Barker, like so early, but I mean, if you are on TikTok, like I am, Curry Barker and Cooper's sketches there are just so funny. He's a sketch comedian, YouTube, TikTok. So like he has been playing in these waters of fucked up relationship dynamics for a while, obviously in a different way, because, you know, sketch comedy stuff is funny, and Obsession, while it's being sold as comedic and there are comedic parts in it, is very much a horror movie, and it is very much unsettling and disturbing and all those things. So yeah. I think I'll hold other comments until I see his future movies. Like, I am stoked to see what he does next. I would like him to stop talking as much in interviews. There's just been some things, and I just don't want to hear that yet. But
listen, this is how I feel about this, because I got to break the news to somebody recently that he's working on a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He's not talking to us. Those sound bites about what he needs to bring back it's not for our sake. It's not for the people that obsess over those films and understand it. So there's this early where you don't have anything, where it's just a little bit of media hype and the junket before the junket. I'm sort of like, all right, talk your shit. Nobody's going to care in a year or 2 years when this thing actually starts to get out there a little bit. I'm not going to hold it against him. He's 26 years old.
Yeah, I'm not either. No, different generation.
Yeah,
this is a kid, insane to say, but over 10 years younger than I am. Fucking, I don't want to say 26 and a decade younger.
Yeah. You are in your middle 30s and he is in his middle 20s. Let's go that way. Does that sound? That gives you because it could be like 27 and 34. It could be close, but
100%.
All right, I'll give you that. Yes, I mean, I loved the sketch comedy that he and Cooper have done. You know, there's a lot of there was a TikTok that came into my feed recently, which is I can't believe the guy that did the like you can't do a negative tip bit is the one that made Obsession, which is funny. Like he's emerging at this time. I think we're starting to take seriously two different trends in horror, which is the comedian turned horror filmmaker with the shining example of Jordan Peele forever, but also Zach Kreger, who is now, you know, the flavor of horror in Hollywood. And simultaneously, you have all of these folks that are making the jump from content creator, YouTube, or YouTube creator into becoming feature-length filmmakers. And so there are these two sort of trends that are happening in the industry. And Barker sits at the intersection of them really beautifully. He is a comedian by trade. He is a sketch artist, a TikTok creator, a YouTube creator. But I've seen some of those other features, not to talk anything about Kreger. Barbarian was great from the jump, but I've seen some of those other films that folks have made when they're making the leap from, you know, from into, I think of like, some of the names that I'm gonna forget off the top of my head. The found footage one about the sister that goes looking for her by Chris Struckman. What was the name of that one?
Shelby Oaks.
I liked Shelby Oaks. I thought there was a lot of fun stuff in set design in Shelby Oaks. Shelby Oaks is very much so a first feature from somebody who's moving from one medium to the other. All of that is to say, there is polish, there is refinement, there is an understanding of pacing. There's an understanding of how to make a feature-length film. There is no point in Obsession where you feel like there is 40 minutes worth of movie stretched out to like an hour and 40 length. That is, even for good filmmakers, sometimes their first feature, you're like, you didn't have enough idea for 90 minutes, but it's okay because the 60 minutes that we got was good enough and I'm here for it. Obsession sings wire to wire. And I think that is what's most impressive to me out of everything about, you know, performances and all that is just at 26 years old, this guy can move between genres and mediums in a way that we are putting flowers on all of these other filmmakers for being able to do. And he's doing both. He's moving from comedy to horror, he's moving from short form to feature length, and he seemingly does so with ease. This movie does not look difficult. He makes it look almost a little too easy.
Yeah, it's so funny because the difference between Blue Sky and Twitter, we obviously know very intimately because we don't go on one of those and
Correct.
We spend our time on Blue Sky. But I forget what I had to go to Twitter for very quickly to like check an old post. I was like, damn it. Like I didn't thread it on Blue Sky. I threaded it back on TikTok. Sorry, I keep saying TikTok. I threaded it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And while Blue Sky is like talking about Obsession in a happy way and everyone's kind of just like spreading their thoughts and things like that, Twitter has apparently started a war with like a tweet got popular and it was like film school is now just online content creation. Like this is the new breed of filmmaker and you don't have to go to film school anymore. You just have to create a TikTok or create a YouTube. And that's the new breed of filmmaker that's going to take over Hollywood. And of course, The discourse is either
Oh,
it's vitriolic. It's so gross. It's disgusting. But like two funny things are kind of out of that for me. Number one, it's that Shelby Oaks apparently is despised by the general public
okay.
because apparently Shelby Oaks is like left off the list of examples, like Iron Lung, Talk to Me,
Yeah, yeah.
like all the lists. It's there, but like Shelby Oaks is left off. Everyone's like, yeah, I'm so good. Like I'm so happy because like that's such a terrible movie, and like there was this weird kind of divide of the true TikTokers and the true YouTubers versus someone like Stuckman, who was a critic first, and how people are making that line in the sand. But then
Plus, it was
also,
crowdfunded, and people have a weird
right,
sense of ownership over what they crowdfund. Yeah, I got that.
100%. Plus the other side of it, where everyone's bringing like, yeah, look at all these amazing examples, and it's like, are we just going to ignore movies like House on Eden or like others that have just been such massive failures that are, I don't know, these conversations that always try to start of like, this is the new thing, this is the new that, and it's like, can we just talk about anything healthily? Just can we talk about
Yeah.
anything in a nuanced way? Because yes, it is now a new avenue. And no, not everyone is going to work, and some people probably should go to film school. So let's pump the brakes on it being the new film school, but also completely not write it off because there are these success stories. But it's still talent first. That's the difference there. Like these are talented people. Like the Rocka Rocka guys are just fucking insane. And if you watch their videos, they were incredibly cinematic, and they were doing crazy stunts, and they were doing things that lent to making a movie. So it is, you know, I'm hesitant to be like, it is the new path, it is the new way, but I'm also completely on board with the fact that it is a great way if you are just a raw talented filmmaker and you just want to go guerrilla. Fuck yeah, that we are in a much easier place to do that.
Yeah. Yes, the Philippou brothers, Raka Raka, are very talented filmmakers and trash ass writers, and I will defend that opinion until my dying day. I've been on 2 podcasts talk about Obsession, and I found a way to talk shit about Talk to Me on both of them. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll be here all week. Here's the thing, though. If we talk about Curry Barker and Obsession as part of a social media, TikTok, YouTube generation, I don't really find a lot of room for criticism in that, because I think if you went to somebody and said, who's one of the best horror filmmakers of the last 30, 40 years, the answer that you would get, one of the top answers you get, like, oh, it's Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi is like one of the, he did Evil Dead, and he did Drag Me to Hell, and he did all this other stuff. There is no difference between shooting Super 8 footage in your backyard with your friends and create, like, the only difference is distribution, right? You make a TikTok video, it's going to be seen by anywhere between 3 and 3 million people. And your Super 8 videos that you make, where you're practicing techniques of editing, you're seeing what you can get away with in the camera, you're teaching yourself by doing. That's just like you put it on the projector or the TV at home, and your family and your friends gather around and watch it. But functionally, it's the same thing. If you read all of those biographies of like Sam Raimi and his friends learning how to make films because they were doing Super 8, where Super 8, the reason it was good is because it was cheap and people had access to it. That's why people used it. That's why films were made that way. This is no different. So yeah, I don't have a lot of I don't have a lot of patience, kind of one way or the other. There's that really amazing article that's been going around this week that was in Vulture about like nothing online is real, and I can't shake that piece. And I anytime people get worked up in my feed about anything anymore, I'm like, I don't. Is this being pushed? I can't get worked up about it either. But I think the idea that like the social media generation is or isn't more or less than other filmmakers, like the technology's changed, but it's just different. It's Super 8 for the 2000s. Like it is, this is the found footage generation where suddenly everybody was shooting something on high definition HD cameras because that, you could get one from Walmart and you'd be able to make a movie. That the Blair Witch guys, rented and then returned their equipment, right? When they were done shooting. It's just different stuff. And every generation finds a way to have a lower technological barrier. And then that immediately opens the gates for some folks with really good ideas to be able to succeed. That's kind of what I love about Obsession is there is nothing in here that is technically difficult. Like there is nothing in Obsession that you would need a studio backing. The most aggressive stuff happening in this film is smart lighting. And if you're good, you can do smart lighting on your own. So yeah, I say open the gates. Let everybody make their movies and let's wait 10 years and shake it out. And I'm going to tell you that Obsession is going to be at the very, very top of the list of movies that we should consider to talk about and take seriously.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing here that makes Obsession such a triumph, I don't want to say it's nothing to do with Curry Barker, because he's obviously behind the camera and directing things and making sure everything goes the way it should. But Inde Navarrette as the lead here, the one Wish Willow victim, as you will. This movie does not work the way it does without Inde. Could other actresses achieve the performance she did? 100%. But the version we have is a success because of her performance. And It is one of those things where I can't shake the idea of anyone else in that role, because the way that she can swing so wildly, she's the fantasy housewife at one point, and then she's the sleep paralysis demon seconds later. And the way she snaps in and out of the wish, and the way she snaps in and out and sometimes regains her consciousness, there is so much complexity to that role, to play both possessed and wanting to break out of your skin. And the way she delivers it, it's one of the best performances that I have seen this year. One of the best performances I think I will see this entire year. And if it's, I don't have the faith that this will have the legs to make it to award season with enough of a push to get her what she deserves.
She deserves it.
But this goes right up there talking about, honestly, I put Elijah Wood for Maniac as one of my favorite horror performances ever. And Jane Levy of Evil Dead remake fame. Like, I think those two horror performances are like two of the best we have seen since both of those movies came out in like 2012, 2013, that time frame. And I'm still talking about those performances. I think Inde can fit that conversation for me, with like Toni Collette and a few others. Obviously, there are plenty of examples, but Inde joints. Inde is just there, and it is such a fucking tremendous performance from her that carries this movie. You said it's so tight. Like, I agree with you. This is front to back a tight ride that is really just on her back for so many scenes.
1,100,000,000%. It is, me, I love one of my secret flavors of horror is melodramatic horror. Like that idea of domestic spaces, people coming apart at the seams. To that end, if you were to ask me to name my favorite horror performances from the last, let's say, 5 years, up there would be Lizzie Kaplan in Cobweb. I think that's a really incredible performance. Alyssa Sutherland in Evil Dead Rise is one of my all-time favorite horror performances. And I think in this particular flavor of horror, I mean, you could point to like Micah Monroe and Watcher, which I think is just an all-time performance, genre or otherwise. But I think within this particular flavor of horror, this might be one of my favorite, if not my favorite, performances in horror, like full stop, period. I think that Navarrete is so talented in this. And it is her performance in her film, but I also love that Barker doesn't get out of her way. He works with her. They do stuff in production and sound design and lighting in order to really, really let her performance shine. In the review that I wrote for us for Certified Forgotten, I compared it to William Friedkin and Linda Blair. I think it is that level of quality. Like, we still talk about Linda Blair 50 years later, 40 years later, however many years it's been, as like one of the great all-time horror performances. And I think I'm comfortable putting Navarrete in that category immediately and giving Barker credit too, because it is her. It's all her. It's all there physically and vocally, but it is not just point the camera and run. She's getting help. She's the way that they're doing the lighting, the way they're doing the sound design. She's scariest when she's not on camera, right? Like all of that is such a good collaboration between a filmmaker and a lead. It's just one of those things. You're like, oh, each of you brought something special to this, and all the credit in the world goes to Navarrete. But there's a worse version of this movie where he just kind of like shoots her and doesn't do anything else and doesn't try and help her be scary. And because they did this together and they found ways to complement that performance in just the right ways, this is on the Mount Rushmore of horror for me. It is up there.
I think there's just so many standout scenes that she is a part of. Obviously, if we're talking about horror and we're talking about scares, we're talking about the foot of the bed when Bear wakes up and just sees her staring. Mm-hmm. And it has that hereditary effect when Toni Collette's on the wall and you don't really see her yet because it's so dark and your eyes adjust, and then she appears and that to me is one of the most unsettling things I've ever witnessed in a theater since it's come out. And watching Navarrete navigate that whole bedroom sequence, again, pitch black. We have a character trying to figure out why their why their partner is doing a paranormal activity and just staring.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the movement starts like again, like what you said is perfect. Like she nails every part of that sequence, whether it's the janky kind of movements that make her look demonic, but the smile, like everything about it. And Curry is obviously influencing that and telling that as the director. So like you get so much out of her in that scene, and you can see why that works. And then there's the game scene, the party scene where she snaps and breaks, and that goes back to playing that comedy so barely thin, where you're kind of uncomfortably laughing, and then once again the horror hits, and it is even more uncomfortable laughter, but not in a good way. Saying it's again, like I know some people are out there saying like Obsession is not a comedy, and it's actually like you people need to be warned that it's not, which fair and valid, because
It's pretty fucking funny though. It is pretty funny. And it's
pretty
funny. It's funny in the right ways and for the right reasons. There is no confusion. And I've been since tuned in to some of the controversy that's happened elsewhere about who the hero and who the villain of this movie is, which is bullshit. We don't even need to really get into that,
No,
unless we want to.
That's just a bad take.
It's just a bad take.
Yeah,
but it understands how our feelings about Bear evolve, and it makes him the butt of a lot of jokes. I wouldn't say it's a horror comedy, but it is funnier than a lot of horror comedies.
It is. I think what you said is most important though. It's funny in the right ways. And that is not to say what is happening is funny.
Right.
What is funny about it is what you just said, making Bear the butt of the joke, because this is all his fault. This is all his doing. And watching him get his comeuppance, that is funny. Because we know plenty of people like that. We know how many people would make that wish, who would do all those things and not think about the fact that you're basically imprisoning someone. Like the fantasy, it's like the prince princess kind of thing of just the white knight and all that stuff. And I'm a good guy. What do you mean? The way that all crumbles down and the way that breaks is so good. And I know I saw it. Like, I mean, again, I was dabbling on Threads just to be like, yeah, why not? I don't know. This exists. I should go check that out and see what's there. And I've seen nothing but dumbassery. Like that was where I saw what we're talking about, where someone's kind of like, oh, like I feel bad for Bear, because like he's really like the victim in this all. And it's like someone posted that. Someone actually thought that and posted it. And I'm just like, I don't need to be here. This is not where I need to be.
Well, can I tap you into a controversy that a few folks that I follow on Blue Sky were talking about that I think is an interesting point of opinion? I was watching two other writers that I know that were discussing whether or not it is better or worse than the fact. And I guess I'll put a little bit of a spoiler tag in here, even though it's not a huge deal, but spoilers from here on out if you still haven't seen the film. The two writers, both talented writers, were arguing or debating whether or not the fact that the wishes aren't inherently evil makes it a better or a worse movie. One of them was saying that as a monkey paw film, right? Because like the idea of a monkey paw is no matter what you ask for, the wish is going to find a way to twist it. The wish master, if you want to do it that way, right? And the other person was arguing that the fact that the wishes are neutral, inherently neutral, and kind of like it is the nature of the wish that perverts it. Because the film makes it clear that lots of characters in the film over the course of the movie, we find out have made wishes, and not all of them have trapped someone's mind or soul or spirit or essence into a hell cage. So I saw that argument going on a little bit. Is the film better because the wishes just sort of exist and are good if you're good and are bad if you're bad? Or is it more interesting to think of the wishes being part of the perversion? I have a very strong opinion on that, but I was enjoying that discussion because I can't see the idea of Bear protagonist or not protagonist any other way. That's stupid. But I can understand why folks might like or not like the monkey's paw nature of the one Wish Willow.
Well, I wouldn't even describe it as wishes are good if you're good and bad if you're bad. Like if we're approaching it from that sense, Bear could have just worded it differently.
Yeah.
And
true.
Bear could have just tweaked a little bit like that. So I think there could be bad people that could still make a good wish because they know how to get around it.
I like that.
If you know what I'm saying, like
Yeah.
a fucking psychopath, a murderer could just be like, well, yeah, obviously I want to use my wish and not get in trouble with it. So I wouldn't even say good and good, bad is bad. I would almost say I like it more that all it took was Bear not thinking clearly to make the wrong choice.
Right.
Because we know all of a microcosm of this character, and we know in the essence of the movie, yes, I do not feel bad for Bear because he brought this upon himself, and also what he did to a poor woman that was just that dared not to be his girlfriend. Like that commentary is so good. But
fuck Bear forever. Yeah, for sure.
Right, 100%. But at the same time, it's like, there's so much more context. There's so much more to blow it out. So it's like, I like the idea that this is coming about because Bear just didn't have the wherewithal to think about what he was doing, to think about how it affects other people, to think about all those things. And again, the wish he wished for is still bad. But if he wished it a little different way or something, I don't know. Like the way that he made that happen still when it didn't have to happen is better. If it was a monkey's paw every time and it did something evil every time, sure, we've seen that movie a billion times. That's not to say good or bad. I love a monkey's paw film. Yeah, of course. Like karmic justice is fantastic, and we love that, and we love to see people punished for their stupidity. But I think obsession being directly about punishing someone for their stupidity because there was another option, that's more fun to me. I like that. I actually like that.
I do too. And I think the reason I was a little surprised to see people talk about it as a monkey's paw movie, I guess, just sort of in general, is my favorite. I'm weird and alone in this, I think. My favorite Stephen King novel is Needful Things. And to me, this was from the jump more of a Needful Things story, where like that thing that you make your wish, you get your object, the thing that you want most in the world, whatever, like it's given to you, and that having it in that moment, possessing it innocently, not thinking that you're destroying something, but being like, oh, do I get this? That's cool. Like Bear is not the worst person in the world when he makes the wish because it's a children's toy and he doesn't think it's going to work and whatever. The whole point of Needful Things is what you're willing to do to hold on to that which you've now been given. And that's what this story is. It is a Needful Thing story in the sense that Bear isn't necessarily an irredeemable or bad person because he made a wish on a children's toy and it came true. He's a bad person because of everything he does after that. And in Needful Things, every character that ends up slaughtering themselves in the middle of the New England town is because they want the thing that they want most in the world. They'll do whatever it takes to keep it. And there are a few characters that turn their backs on their wishes, and it physically hurts them and it spiritually hurts them, but they recognize they need to let go. And that is the story here: is Bear won't let go of the thing that he's been given. And so that is the Needful Things, not a monkey paw. It's his own goddamn fault. He brings everything on himself. He deserves the punishment that he gets at the end, et cetera, et cetera.
It's smart. Yeah. I think that makes it better. That makes it better because it goes back to what I said. It didn't have to be that way. So yeah, I'm on the side of very much, I'm happy it's not just a monkey's paw. Cause yeah, like the money falling from the sky. So funny. Like such a funny beat of just, oh yeah, you could have just had $1 billion. You could have just like changed your life in such a way that you wouldn't have to worry about anything ever forever. And well, you used it this way.
Yep. I've also seen a few interviews with Barker where he says he wants to do more of the One Wish Willow stuff in like an anthology format. I would love if he could end up manifesting some kind of like Tales from the Crypt-esque series or stories about One Wish Willow in all the various ways. It's so funny how mundane this is in the movie. That's another really, really great choice. This is not an object of power. This is an item that's for sale at a curio shop and is so not an item of power that there's still multiple of them left when he goes back, to try and figure out how to undo it. There's still like 3 left in the box. It's such a funny movie. It's not a comedy, but it is such a funny movie in ways. And it's the kind of thing I think to me, another thing that I love about this is it's like watching The Purge for the first time where you're confronted by an idea that you're like, oh, I actually do want to see more of this. Like we got more Purge than we probably needed by the end of the run. But it's one of those things where, I as soon as I saw the first Purge, I was like, that's a great idea. I bet if we keep digging around in this universe, there's going to be some really fun stories. Same thing here. Like the One Wish Willow is a really good idea. I hope we get to keep digging around a little bit in this universe. let him make his pretentious Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. That's totally fine. Let him go through his Paul Thomas Anderson of horror phase where he is, an angry auteur who has the talent to back it up. All of that is totally fine. But at some point, I hope he does revisit this universe because I think there's a lot left.
I like it as a anthology to a series, I should say. I don't want to see him get stuck making One Wish Willow movies for 10 years.
Yes.
Let him get some shorter format stories out of his system, because once again, we know he can do shorter format because of his, well, I shouldn't say, sorry. We know he can do shorter format comedy because of his sketches.
Yeah.
But that would benefit tremendously. I think the One Wish Willow as a streamer anthology would be brilliant. Such a smart move.
Yeah. And then bundle them together. You got your new VHS for the next decade. We could just get a dozen One Wish Willow movies or compilations, and I'd watch them all. Well, that's it. We could keep talking about this. No matter how much we praise her, there will never be enough nice things in the world to say about Inde Navarrette. So just if for some whatever reason, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen the movie, go see it. Go see it with a crowd. Like, we had people in our movie theater from 4 or 5 different generations, and they all walked out and they wanted to talk. I had more conversations with strangers walking out of Obsession than I've had with anybody in any movie recently that I can remember. It's a good feel good audience movie. But go see it. And in Inde Navarrette, that's all you need to know. And then read Donato's review over at Daily Dead and my review here at Certified Forgotten. I think you're gonna like. I think you're gonna like what we had to say. We're both in pretty fucking strong alignment on this one.
Actually, I did the IGN review. I wonder.
Did you do it? Okay,
I wonder who did it for us. Yeah, I'm curious. I like not a bad way. I don't know how Daily Dead stands on it.
That's fine. I sort of auto attributed Daily Dead as their lead film critic now. So, all right, at IGN, go read the IGN review from Matthew Donato. And speaking of your reviews, sometimes, a lot of the times at Daily Dead, sometimes elsewhere, where do folks connect with you online if they want to read your writing?
Still at Donato Bomb, Blue Sky, Letterboxd, Instagram, all the good places, and
Twitter, Threads, based on the conversation you had today.
God, again, no tweeties. We are the hellscape of just being there for a second and seeing all that. I was like, I am so happy I left this thing. And then Threads, sure, follow me, but I have seen nothing that I want to play with over there yet either. So let's keep to the main 3. That's Blue Sky, Letterboxd, and Instagram. Donato Bomb.
I do think that Threads is the Pepsi of text-based social media. It's like, oh, you follow me on Blue Sky? Is Threads okay? Like, fine. Yeah, whatever. As for myself, Blue Sky, please. It's Monagle at bsky.social. You can also follow me on Instagram. I'm at Matt Monagle there. But more importantly, follow Certified Forgotten. If right now, while you're listening to this, while I am speaking these words into existence, if you type into your phone or into your computer, www.certifiedforgotten.com/newsletter, you will get every week a rundown of the most recent pieces that we've published, some shout outs to some of the publications and content creators in our community that we really love, and sometimes an essay from me, sometimes some thoughts from Matt Donato, just what we're vibing on in the world of indie publishing and horror. So, of course, Certified Forgotten is on Instagram. We are on Facebook if you want it, on Blue Sky, all the places that you would normally go to. But go to certifiedforgotten.com, go to certifiedforgotten.com/newsletter and sign up for our weekly newsletter. The internet is dying. And so us to your inboxes is probably the best way for you to see what we are working on. That is it. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. We've got a few options that we can kind of pull from. It's going to probably depend on how passionate I feel about Passengers, because I know you and Amelia both really liked it. So
it's fun.
Maybe it'll be that one. Maybe we'll see. Jump scares. We'll see you next time.